we lived in Jacksboro for a few months, and I knew that like the Light is the church that we wanted to try out. But I was just like super nervous about going, and Chris was working in Odessa at the time, or like Midland or somewhere like that. They're all the same. And so I decided that I was going to go without him because he was like never here. And so went without him, went to church, the first service. It was me, and I can't remember if I had Brayton that weekend, but I know for sure I had Sophia, because I did not even make it out of my car before someone, Tab to be specific, was coming out to my car to carry my child in for me. Like, he did not want me to have to carry the baby in alone. And so that was like really cool to me, just to feel so welcomed and feel like my children were welcomed, and to have, you know, men step up when my husband was out of town. So that was really cool, and I knew that I wanted to go back because of that and because of how welcome I felt.
You know, it was hard for us to find a church that was like good, especially for Mikey, because I was always gone. I was out in West Texas working, and so I remember I don't remember what church it was, but we tried one church and we were like, man, it's just not it. And I remember the day that she tried the church, I woke up to go on shift because I was on night shifts, and she said, hey, so I found this church and I loved it. Man, once I stepped in the door, it was like, I loved it. It was, you know, I always say that, you know, I have a family up here because like I really look to everybody here as my family, you know. You know, it's a good church to get connected to get plugged into. There's a lot of stuff that you can do. You know, if you don't know how to do it, fake it until, you know, one day you're like, hey, I'm actually pretty good at this. Man, we've had some fun times on the softball field, you know, and sometimes, you know, it gets heated, but it still is the same, you know. I mean, everybody's the same. Everybody's a person, you know. It's a real church. They're not trying to hide something.
So one of my favorite things that's happened to me while serving for the church was Camp Copus last year. Every evening you have like a church time, and just your church gets together. So the leaders, the male and female sponsors with the children, and at the end of every evening I would ask the kids what was their favorite part about that day. And I'll never forget, Lexi said that night, she said, my favorite part about that day was when God came into my heart and saved me.
There's just a lot of stuff that like I can look back on and be like, man, you know, I'm thankful that my kids get to grow up in this atmosphere.
Okay, so I remember the first time I met Josh. I was moving into my new house across the street from the church and going through a rough patch in my life, and he's standing out there and he says, hey, how's it going? Welcome to the neighborhood. Do you need any tools? And I really did need some tools to put my stuff together. So he lent me some tools, and then he said, why don't you just come to church some Sunday and bring those back when you're done? And I said, okay. And it took me a little while to finally be ready to come, but when I did, I just remember feeling at home, and I'd never felt that before. So it really just grew from there, and I feel like every Sunday there's something I can take home with me and fill my spiritual cup, and my kids have grown so much in learning about God, and it's just been a wonderful thing for me and my family. I don't think I would have made it through my last year and a half without this church family. I really honestly can say that, so I'm so grateful.
I can't tell you about the very first time I came to the Light, because my daughter, Madison, is the one that encouraged me to come with friends of hers. I can tell you about the number one memory that sticks with me was the Sunday that I was able to approach Josh in the front of church and tell him that I quit drinking. And I have never felt that comfortable with a pastor of a church ever before, and I was actually able to speak those words out of my mouth, and he encouraged me the whole way. and I have been sober for 1.5 years now. Anybody who has a preconceived notion about a church being judgmental or hypocritical, you need to throw that out the window, because this is the one place you can fit in no matter what point you are in your life.
It's a good church. I love it. Me and my wife and my daughter go to it. We've been here for 5 years. Well, not actually 5 years, about a good, 4.5. Yes, we got baptized. Me, my daughter, and my wife got baptized. Love it.
So one of my most favorite moments serving God here at the Light Church was about 1 year ago. I was the female sponsor at youth camp for Camp Copus. And it was one night during worship. The service was drawing to an end, and the speaker at the time said, anyone who has not accepted Christ, or someone who has and is not living the way they should be, if you would like to stand up, and the people around you, your friends, your sponsors, they'll come and pray over you, and don't leave here tonight without getting right with God, basically. And so looked around, and one of our girls stood up. And so we all gathered around and we prayed over her, and then at the end of that, when everyone was done praying, he had a lot of us go to the back with those people that stood up. And so I went to a quiet spot with her, and we were talking about, why did you stand up tonight? I asked her that specifically, and she said, I've already accepted Christ, and I'm not living the way I should be. And when I stood up, she said, I felt so powerful in Christ. And so many times, right when I need it, God reminds me of that night and why I need to stand up every day and be the light and be powerful in Christ. And I'm so thankful for that moment that night.
All right, Ashley, if you had one thing you could say to the people watching this video, what would it be?
Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. My heart is true, your pal and a confidant. Thank you for being a friend. You thought it was over, but it wasn't.